So this is the third episode of the Metal Trap Rock and Metal podcast, and we're joined with Tommy from Struck Down.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah. Do we tell the audience what's just gone on? Do we mention it, or were we going to keep this under wraps completely?
Basically,
The 3 attempts it took Cameron to figure out it's the third episode, not the fourth.
Followed by about 5 minutes worth of laughing.
Yeah, well, that's my fault. So the basis of this week's or this episode is basically interview related. So everything's going to be surrounding the band Struck Down. You know, it's not a review episode just yet. It's more so just to interview and ask a few questions, and then we'll release another episode which will be a review.
Nice. Yeah. So I'm not being put up for interrogation or anything like that this time around, no?
Not yet.
Unless there's anything you want to get off your chest.
Sweet. I mean, there's quite a few things, but I don't think it's relevant to the podcast.
Great fun.
But yeah, I think also time dependent. We'll discuss like favourite gigs, most memorable gigs, least favourite gigs. Just go through them because I think they could be quite interesting.
See, I was pre-warned about this, and I said I'd think about it. And thank you for the second pre-warning, because I need to think about it again.
Well, you've got plenty of time to think. We're bombarding you with questions.
Brilliant. Let me see how well my mental capacity is today.
Not saying much, but if you're Southern, just leave it there.
Okay. I've been judged already.
Well, you've been judged from Midlands, apparently, so leave it at that.
Hey, that was between me and you. You know it.
I mean, everybody's Southern to me.
All right, calm down.
Just
get off your high horse up there, mate. What are you doing?
just flexing that there. So, right, fun and games. That was hilarious. That was
right. Might as well jump straight in anyway.
Oh, right. Let's go for it.
So, those opening with questions, and me or they?
I don't have them.
Yeah, you can go, Gary. I've messed up my screen again.
Oh, fantastic. So, a nice, simple question. How did you come up with the band name?
You say simple question. However, I am not an original member. So, I joined with the band name. And if I'm perfectly honest, I've got no idea how it was formed.
Fair enough.
Yeah. It was just there.
Just there and you turned up. I like it.
Yeah, that's it. There's a slash in the middle of it. I've been in another band with a slash in the middle of it as well. And I saw it and went, do you know what? I'll have some of that. Yeah, why not? We'll have another slash.
You like to slash?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at here is I'd like to slash. That's where we're going with this conversation.
I'll take that as an answer.
Yeah, it's a good answer.
Yeah, so, I've got nothing else for you boys. If I wanted to, then I would. If I had, then I'd tell you.
Fair enough. So that was that one then. So what would you say are your biggest influences?
Depends on the member that you ask, because we're all into very different things. Overall, where we sit in a sort of a doomy groove sort of genre, there's a few bands that come to mind. Sabbath being a massive influence, the likes of Pantera being a massive influence. But then individually, like I said, it differs. I'm really into a lot heavier stuff than, say, Will, our guitarist, is. And where I go into sort of like progressive gent style bands that I listen to, he listens to a lot of classic rock and stuff like AC/DC, Black Sun Cherry, and then the rest of the members, they sort of fit in between them two spectrums, which really allows us to experiment with our sound. But we decided to, like, a good middle ground was to go doomy with some groove, a little bit of post rock here and there. So quite an open answer, really. It really is dependent.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry, put you off there. When we've listened to a few of your songs, the first thing we said was we'd get a strong Metallica, Pantera kind of vibe from you lot.
Nice, yeah. I would happily take that any day of the week, to be honest. We're all about the riff, really. Like, if it's heavy, if it's catchy, if it's groovy, then it's struck down. And when you put Lyndon, our vocalist, over the top, it finishes it nicely. And he's got a great voice, and the way that he writes lyrics and comes up with melodies, it just becomes this catchy, heavy mess of groove, which is just great.
Just a quick throw it there. What are the names of all the members in the band?
We've got Will, he's the lead guitarist. We've got Ian, he's on rhythm guitar. We've got Andy, he's on bass, and then we've got Lyndon, he's on vocals.
Lyndon, no problem. And yourself, who's
on the old drum kit.
On the
he sits at the back and hit things.
That's it.
Smashing. No, that's fine. Just for podcast sakes.
yeah, no, that's cool.
So that's fine. Yeah, smashing.
So a bit of a diverse question for you now. If you could date any musical celebrity, who would it be?
Oh. Quite partial to Taylor Momsen, not going to lie.
I
wouldn't mind.
Agree.
Yeah. Who else? Oh, Courtney from Spirit Box. You guys heard Spirit Box?
I'm Googling that now.
Can't say I have.
Have a quick look. She's got an absolute killer voice, mix of cleans and screams. Yeah, definitely be there as well, 100%.
Spirit Box.
Yeah. Younger me would say Amy Lee from Evanescence, but I don't know so much anymore. I'm not sure. Can't say that I've seen Amy Lee for a while.
I think that was everybody. In fact, did they not release say they were releasing a new album recently, Gary?
Yeah, releasing. I think it's March. It comes out.
Nice. I might have to. Yeah, I'll have to take a look at that.
Oh, she's quite a pretty little thing.
Voice of a demon. Give him a listen when you get a chance. Honestly,
definitely.
Hayley Williams. I think that's a no-brainer, right? Surely.
Solid all-rounder.
Yeah, I think I've covered most bases here. I think we're good.
You get one from each kind of style there.
Yeah, why not? Multiple styles in Strike Down, multiple celebrities. Let's go.
How did you? I mean, I know you said you're a new member. How did you meet Struck Down, and do you know how Struck Down all met?
Yeah, so I'll start from the start. So Will and Lyndon are the original members, and they met to do an acoustic project called Wookie and the Wizard. So they were just an acoustic duo for quite some time. They had a family member and another member that also played instruments, and they decided to expand their sound a little bit to become a full band. Turns out they were doing more sort of bluesy stuff at the time, and the drummer that they had, how can I put it in the nicest way possible, didn't meet requirements, if that makes sense. So he was consequently told to leave the band, along with another egotistical guitarist, which left a bassist who, Chris the bassist at the time, Will and Lyndon, and they got in contact with me through another friend of mine in another band, and I met them in a pub. We played a game of pool. I turned up to a practice, and then they were like, "Yeah, he's the boy," and I was like, "I'm your boy." And that's it, really. They heard me in my old band called Hunter Killer. That was like the first sort of demo tracks that they heard me in, and from there it's basically history, really.
It's always good when things like that work out that way.
Yeah, definitely. Like 8 years now, 7 years, 8 years down the line, I think, and that's where we're at. Yeah,
quite a long time.
I think it always makes. I think it always makes it easier than meeting in a more chilled environment like the pub and that before going into the studio.
Oh yeah, 100%. Especially with Lyndon, I didn't know how to take Lyndon to begin with. He's such a character, and like anyone that meets him to begin with, you're like, whoa, who is this man? But he's like the loveliest person in the world. He's just super energetic 100% of the time, which makes him one of the best frontmen I've ever had to work with. But I definitely needed them couple of pints to kind of get round him a
Yeah.
little bit
Yeah,
before
to listen
jumping
up.
straight into a practice.
Yeah, I mean, personally speaking, I think that is. I mean, if you're ever joining a band, I think it would be the best thing to do. You know, have a pre-meet that's not basically shoved into the studio type thing. It's, I mean, personally, past history for me definitely agrees with that. You know, it's always better to have a chilled meet and then kind of see where you're at personally, then jump into it.
Oh yeah, completely. Obviously, being in a band is like we always see it as like being in a relationship, but with instead of just your girlfriend, you've got 4 other members that you need to worry about at the same time. Obviously, you need to get along well with people, and you need to be able to communicate effectively with people. Otherwise, what's the point? You're never going to get anywhere. And luckily, I see everybody in Shutdown as not only my best mates but my brothers as well, and the relationship that we've got. It's the reason that we're still going. What 7, 8 years down the line, really?
Yeah,
That's how it needs to be, though. You need to be like family. And like the band I'm in, we formed last year during COVID, so we never got to go to the pub or anything first, and we were just thrown all together straight into the studio.
Yeah,
And the first half an hour were quite awkward, really. Like we
yeah,
got, but there was just that awkward bit of tension there, and then once that released, it was fine. But it would have been much easier, like you did with pub, have a few beers, game of pool.
that's it. Yeah, and you get an idea of people's personalities, and you know, the same when you go onto first dates and stuff like that. You need to know whether you're compatible before jumping straight into commitment, right?
Exactly.
But yeah, the pub was definitely a good shout, and I'd highly recommend. Well, not right now. Good luck getting to a pub right now, unless you go to the Isle of Man. But probably not
Yeah.
a good idea. You'll probably get
Well,
arrested.
they're not
Yeah.
allowing anyone in country anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I jokingly said I was going to move there, but then I would probably get arrested at the border. So let's not.
Yeah, it's probably not a good shout, but
No.
could be worth a shot. Like that bloke that went on a jet ski to see his girlfriend.
I was just about to say that. There was a guy that went across the channel. Was it the channel or something on a jet ski?
Yeah, it was from mainland to like an island just off of Ireland. I'm pretty sure. Like not a long trip, but jet skiing it. Fair play.
Yeah,
Yeah,
wouldn't be me.
hefty set of bollocks.
Yeah, big time, big time.
Well, I mean,
So,
at least if I fell off, I'd have 2 boys to float my way.
Brilliant.
so as a band, then, what's your songwriting process?
Most of it happens in the practice room. So we like to see if a song works within a live setting before we decide whether or not it's, worthy to record and put on a release. So generally speaking, someone will come along with a riff or a groove or a drum beat or a vocal hook, and then from there, it's like a council meeting. We'll all huddle together and decide is it worthy of the struck down name. If it meets the requirements, we start working on it from there, and it's just kind of a really natural process that we write in. At the moment, obviously, that's not possible. We've been trying to write outside of the practice room using little project files and stuff like that, and flinging them back and forth between each other. It's a different style of writing that we're not used to, but we definitely suit the practice room style of writing better.
Yeah, that's understandable. I mean, especially just now, you can't really have a jam session over Zoom or Skype or anything like that, because internet issues.
Yeah, everyone will be out of time, and I'll get blamed as a drummer, and it'll be down to internet, and I can't be dealing with that stress.
No, exactly. But I mean, I see there has been bands, online. I can't remember who it was, but they've been doing kind of like gigs at home, and you've got to wonder how they've managed to do things like that together, and not have any lag or issues.
Yeah, I can probably imagine it's all just sort of spliced together, really. Like they'll do their little video bits and then splice it together in a video, and then like premiere it live as opposed to it actually being live, if that makes sense.
Ah, That actually does make more sense than what I thought. Oh
Yeah,
well.
they were just sort of like, oh, this is a live show. And you look at it and be like, this is a pre recorded show being shown live. This is what you mean, right?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense now. I just assumed that they
Yeah,
recorded
just,
it live.
Glad to be of service, no worries.
So, every day's a
Either that
school
or your
day.
whole world's just come crashing down.
No, every day's a school day, and I've actually learnt something. Oh dear. So, who would I know we've touched on your influences, but who would you say personally that you sound like?
Oh, from like a personal standpoint, who we
Yeah,
sound
yeah.
like. Ooh, there's a few bands that come to mind straight away. We've got some Blackstone Cherry vibes definitely in there. I'd agree with what you boys say. There's some Metallica and Pantera vibes in there too. But then there's also a touch of sort of metalcore sounds every now and again, sort of kill switchy stuff in there as well, that kind of seeps through, um, especially in the previous album, that's for sure. And then we've been told a few times as well that we sound a lot like Glenn Danzig's band, Danzig,
Oh yeah,
obviously. Yeah,
Danzig.
yeah. I didn't realize at first, but yeah, it was actually my dad that said it, and then there's a few other oldies, old gatekeepers that have said similar things, and I'm like, do you know what? I can hear it, 100%. So I'm on board with that analogy now, definitely.
was he in Misfits?
Um,
Or is
The
that
Gl-
me that's...
the Glenn
that-
Danzig. I
I
don't know.
don't I don't want to say no in case I'm wrong, but I don't think so.
Let's have a quick Google.
I'm googling it just now.
All right, you'll be premature.
It's not the first time he's had that.
What bit last time either?
Yeah, he's the founder of the bands Misfits, Sam Hain, and Danzig, and he owns
Yeah.
Evil Live Record. The Evil Live record label, as well as Verotic, an adult-oriented.
All right. Well, if he happens to
Yeah.
listen to this, if he could just hit me up with some details, that'd be great.
Oh dear. Yeah, let's.
That's a point. How old are you guys?
I am. What personally? Are you talking to like the
Like,
band?
no,
Or...
just as a band, like, oh fucking hell, the chair's collapsing.
Keep that in.
We'll take that question again.
So as a band, how old are you guys?
You mean like from a personal perspective, like how old is each member?
Yeah.
So I'm 26. I had to double check because we skipped a year last year, didn't we? So, pretty sure Andy's the youngest. He's 20 something. Definitely lower than 26 though.
Yeah.
Ian is 28, maybe 29. I think along the same lines as Will as well. And then Lyndon, I'm pretty sure is the same age as me. Evidently, I'm a terrible friend.
I'm going to laugh if all of these guys are the same age, let's say 26, and you've just shot them under the bus.
Oh, yeah. It's fine. I'll take the flak. Don't worry.
No, that's fine.
Just don't ask me when their birthdays are because they're at a point between January and December.
So when's their birthdays?
They are at a point between January and December.
Fair play. Oh.
Every year, just to double check, just to make sure. Every year, yeah.
I've just had to move rooms because of the collapsing chair, so it might sound a little bit different.
You actually collapse.
It started to collapse, yeah.
Brilliant.
I'm putting that down on cheap material and not me being overweight.
Needs some more business supplies.
Oh, that's fine. So roughly between kind of 20 to 29, that's your average age.
Yeah, let's call it that. Let's call it that for the sake
fine.
of safety reasons.
Yeah, before somebody gets hurt.
It's going to be me by the sounds of it.
I'm pretty sure that was an NSYNC song.
So, what would you say is the craziest thing that's happened either at a show, in the studio, or on tour if you've toured?
Oh, what has gone on? What? Yeah, what has gone on? There's got to be something, surely.
Or
It's
something
normally,
that you can say.
it normally involves Lyndon. If I'm perfectly honest, generally speaking, it involves Lyndon. Um, there's right. So he wears leopard print, multicolored rainbow leggings on stage. That's a start. So that's the sort of bar of crazy that we're working with here. So as you can imagine, trying to go above that to begin with is quite difficult. Oh, this is a good one. So I'm not going to get him into trouble because he doesn't work there anymore. But we had a gig, a local gig. I believe it was like a Halloween gig at one of the local pubs, in which Will attempted to get holiday off of work, but unfortunately he could not. So he just went, my back hurts, I ain't coming to work, and then come and played the show. But his two managers turned up at the show and began recording him whilst at the show. Now, skip forward maybe 5 minutes or so, and I've never seen him move so quickly in my life, right? He snatches the phone out of the hand, legs it to the bathroom, and flushes the phone down the toilet.
What a lad.
Yeah, it was great.
What a person.
I can't really mention anything else that goes beyond that because, well, it's not
Legal.
really, yeah, to be honest.
Yeah, let's not incriminate anybody here.
No. My
fair-
dad was actually at the show as well, and he was about to get involved. And I actually stood up from behind the drum kit. It was just like, you sit back down, you stay out of this. I was like, stop. So the last thing you need is your old man trying to get involved in the fights of the band.
Oh, God.
To be fair, though, if you need to play a show, you've got to play a show, and if work won't give you it off, then you might coincidentally be ill.
That's it. Yeah. Not to say that I've ever done that before.
No, don't condone it at all.
No, not at all. No.
It's like Corona, it just comes out of nowhere and has you.
It does, yeah. And then the NHS app tells you you've got it, even though you thought you hadn't. And then you're like, oh, shit, I do have it. Fuck.
Oh, God.
So, as a band, if you could have one dream collaboration, who would it be with?
Oh, again, depends on the member that you ask. I think overall, as an overall band goal, I think Blackstone Cherry would be a solid collaboration. That's for sure. I wouldn't mind collaborating with. It wouldn't really work, but Tesseract would be cool, or Between the Buried and Me, but they're way too progressive. But if I was going to say someone legitimate, Alice in Chains would be a sick collaboration, or Mastodon would also be a sick collaboration. I know Will would be in agreement with Blackstone Cherry, but he'd also say maybe AC/DC. Lyndon would probably say Skindred. Ian would probably fall in the same line as me, and Andy, I reckon he'd say Skindred. So quite an open-ended answer again. But if we could just amalgamate every single band I've just mentioned together and form like a metal orchestra, then I think that would probably be the way to go.
By the sounds of it, having Lyndon and Benji up front would be quite an experience and somewhat to see.
I reckon they'd smash it. It'd be great. I reckon Benji would be able to take the higher stuff. Lyndon would be in control of the lower stuff. Energy-wise, I can't guarantee that they both won't probably die from various antics. Or if any of the band would survive, because it would probably be like an unmovable object meets an unstoppable force. And then before you know it, on the news, there'd been a nuclear explosion involving Lyndon and Benji.
And about 1 million T-shirts in the Stockton helicopter.
The venue would literally take off. It'd be gone forever. And we'd all be stuck in the sky.
Oh, God. That does sound like a show I'd love to see if Benji was involved.
Yeah, if that show ever gets put together, let us know, and we're on our way.
All right, Benji, mate, if you're listening to this as well, sruckdownliquid@gmail.com. Hit us up, buddy.
We'll put a link in the description.
Chuck it in there. Yeah, I'll sort it out, mate. Don't worry.
Brilliant. So, what do you feel is the best song you've ever released, and why?
Oh, okay. So at the moment, from our newer stuff, Wandering Child is currently my favourite. However, we do have another track on its way, so that will soon be my favourite song to have been released. But Wandering Child is right up there. It was a real turning point for us and our sound. We went from more of a experimental sort of band with our album Gone, where we played around with a lot of different sounds, to really cementing ourselves within the groove and doom sort of genre that we put ourselves in.
Fair play. It's-
So, Wandering Child, then, like, what's it about? Is it about what it says, or is it like another meaning?
Yeah, so it's not really about a child that's wandering, that's for sure. Um, it's about, there's like an overarching story that we've got with these releases that we're doing. So our EP follows a concept. It's all about a priest who's cursed by a witch in the medieval times called Father Bernard, and because of this curse, he's now immortal. So he's now sort of wreaking havoc on modern day life. And the song "Wandering Child" is the first iteration of the story, which is like a prologue to set the scene, I suppose you could call it. And then the rest of the releases are following on from the story in a modern day um, age. Yeah, we'll go with age. That's a good word.
So, like, each song, even though they're different, they all link together.
Exactly. Yep. And we show that through our music videos. So if you were to watch the music videos, there's reoccurring characters, and each music video progresses the story further and further on.
so like it comes full circle type thing.
I think because this EP, we're playing around with the idea of it being a double EP, we're not 100% sure where the ending is in terms of the visuals. So we're still playing around with whether or not it's going to come full circle or whether it's going to carry on across another release. But really, it's kind of a watch this space type thing more than anything.
Like, I think it's a pretty cool concept, that, really, though, having everything linked rather than just your random songs here and there. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm all about good music, but if you can put a story to it as well, I think it just gives the song that bit of extra depth.
Yeah, definitely, and it really allows us to be creative with the way that we market it as well. Like in between the tracks, like between releases, the marketing material is also another way of us continuing the story and giving people that extra sort of background lore behind it that otherwise wouldn't be available. And it also means that it's helpful in the fact that the music videos, we've already got a good idea of what we want to be shooting, which is super handy when it comes to actually being creative and going, all right, next music video, what do we need to do? We've got that set in stone idea.
It sounds like you've got your head screwed on with the path that you wanted to take with it all. It's just a case of getting everything finalised.
That's it. Yeah. The only thing that's been a bit of a struggle is the pandemic, but we managed to get all the songs recorded before we went into the initial lockdown last year. And we've actually been recording all the music videos ourselves. So we haven't had the need to worry about videographers or anything like that. So,
Great.
Yeah, just been sort of smashing it all out and keeping ourselves busy through really shit times, to be honest.
Yeah.
See, that's admirable as well. You know, it's everybody. We can't really do what we need to do, but you guys have just done it.
Yeah, it took a little bit of creative thinking, but you'd be surprised what you can do with one DSLR and a few phones nowadays. And you know, we've really thrown ourselves at it, and we're sort of reaping the rewards of it. To be honest, like I definitely feel for bands that struggle to figure out where they need to go and stuff. But where we've been doing it with each other for so many years and spending the time to do that extra research on, you know, how social media works and the algorithms and that sort of stuff, it's really given us a step ahead of newer bands. And I mean that in sort of the best possible way, not in a way that's putting them down. More in a way of, this is what you need to be looking at, sort of thing.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So, if you, like, as a band, could have your fans remember one thing about yourselves, what would it be?
Oh, the riffs, 100% the riffs. We're not too fussed about being remembered individually. Like we're all trying to build our own little personal brands outside of Struck Down. But if it's to do with the entity of Struck Down, as long as people remember the music, that's all we can ask for, really.
That's fair enough, because like I can imagine some bands are like, oh well, we want them to remember like a stage performance, or we want them to remember us as individuals and stuff like that. And I think you can have a lot of different answers to that question and still be unsure of what you want in your fans to remember you.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, like every person as an individual has their own wants, needs, goals, and all of that sort of stuff. And
Yeah.
I'd be lying if I said we didn't all feel that as well. But we always work on a basis of for the good of Struck Down, essentially, for the good of the project, for the good of Struck Down as the entity. So if you're talking about being remembered as Struck Down the bands, then if you remember our music, that's great. That's all we can ask for.
Yeah. No, that was a nice, short, sweet answer.
Yeah, it was quite an easy one, to be fair.
So, if you didn't become a musician, what would you be doing right now?
Oh, well, this actually leads in quite nicely to my goals and stuff. I'm actually working. Well, I've just started working in PR. I've personally just started my own PR company called Sleepless PR, and that is the route that I'm taking. Sort of, if I don't make it in the dream of becoming a musician within Struckdown. So I'm definitely looking at working within the industry still, 100%. And I don't think I'd ever be happy with a career that's outside of it. So I'm gonna start working in the more businessy side of things.
So, have you got a Facebook page and that's set up for yourself?
I do, yeah. So you can find me on Instagram at Sleepless PR. I've just set up a Twitter as well. That's also at Sleepless PR, and I believe Facebook follows the trend of just Sleepless PR.
Fair enough. We'll get them links banged down in description as well with the others, and hopefully get some people sent over your way.
Nice. Yeah, that'd be solid. I've actually, coming out of the podcast for a second, I've actually got a band to send your guys' way as well after this, if you're happy to
awesome.
take recommendations.
Yeah, definitely.
Solid.
Yeah, our email's been gone absolutely mental with bands contacting us, and because I'm usually night shift, it's me that tends to get all the emails coming through. So it's
Yeah, I can understand that, definitely.
non-stop. But no, we're always open to have more bands in our queue, so to speak.
Yeah,
it's what we want. In though, a lot of people wanting to do this, because like we've said, bigger bands you could just go find stuff out on Google, and you already know about that band. You know what they sound like.
Yeah.
So we're just wanting to push like the bands that you might not have heard of and up and coming bands, and just try and push through that way. So the fact we've had the response that we have, I think, is fantastic.
Yeah, man, definitely. It's sounding really good, and like for only your third show as well, to have that amount of response is spot on.
So if we both give you one more question each, and then we can move on.
Go for it.
So mine's going to be a bit more of a daft question, but if you could sell one of your band members on the black market, who would it be?
Oh,
How much money do you think you'd get for them?
Okay, so I probably. Oh, it's a tough one. Like Lyndon would definitely be valued at the most, 100%. Like, there's no doubt about it. His skill set, not only as a musician, but like he's a mechanic as well, and he's like such a handyman. He'd be worth a pretty penny on the black market, that's for sure. I reckon Will would probably get a couple of camels for. No offense, Will. It's fine. It's in jest. We do this to each other all the time. Yeah, I'd probably say Lyndon purely for my and Struck Down's own financial gain. Then what we could do with the money is we'd hire a crack team of specialists to break him out of wherever he's ended up, and then we're in profit and we've got Lyndon back. So
it's a great idea. Like, just going back to the whole selling for 2 camels. I'm not taking the piss here, but my fiance actually, like, when she went on holiday, someone offered 2 camels to a family to buy her.
Was it in Egypt?
No, I think it was Turkey.
Mental. Like, one of my mates' mums, like, literally, he was offered 2 camels for his mum in Egypt.
But it's like, why is camel a currency?
I don't know, but, like, were you not a little bit tempted? Like, a couple of camels, take them back. It's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's how do you pass a camel off as your partner on a flight home?
Oh. All right, so do you get the 2 camels and then bribe your way through with one of the camels, so at least you got 1 camel?
True, or you could let one camel loose running off through airports where everyone chases it and then just throw it over.
Sneak the other camel through, yeah.
Yeah.
If you could teach it to respond by name to begin with as well, you let him loose and you can call him back afterwards and you still got 2. These sort of things you've got to think about, boys.
You've thought about this far too much.
Yep. Not even going to lie about it.
So if we randomly see your Facebook photo changed to a picture of you guys missing 1 member and 2 camels, we know why.
Yeah. It'd be on the news report, a local man brings back camel. And if Will happens to be missing for a long period of time, all I ask is you don't go to the police and just let me have my camels. That's all I ask.
Fuck Will, just leave my camel.
Will, if you're listening, mate, I love you, don't worry. But I do want a couple of camels.
I'm sure we can try and figure that out.
Is this a promise that you can afford to make?
Don't know. I need to see if I can conjure up a spare human.
You're from Glasgow, of course you can.
I'll be keeping an eye on the local Glaswegian news.
Oh God, please don't.
Yeah, to be fair, you'll probably be the least of the worries up there.
Oh, don't. It is quite bad.
So I'm just looking, and it says the rough price from a camel starts from £40,000. But a thoroughbred that does camel racing can be up to like a couple of million. Someone spent 6.5 million on 3 camels.
Since when could you race camels?
This is literally my question, yeah.
Oh, camel racing's been a thing for quite a while in Middle East.
Never knew you could race a camel. I thought it was just horses or animals that tend to
yeah,
be quite
prices
quick.
The camels that win go from up between 5 and 10 million per camel.
I think we're in the wrong business, guys.
Yeah, right. Right, I'll get the plane ticket sorted, gents. You can start the visas. We're going hunting.
Oh, God.
Bring your mate's girlfriend. I'll get my mate's mum. I'll get Will as well. We've got the potential for 6 camels already, guys.
Who needs money when you can roll in it in camel money?
That's it. Yeah.
Well, at least if Scotland does leave the EU, we can have our own currency of camel.
This podcast has taken some weird turn.
Oh, it really has.
Thing is, though, if you get camel up in Glasgow, you'll just deep fry it.
Brilliant. Yeah, I can see that happening.
Yeah.
Deep fried camel.
What does it taste like?
Well, probably dead fried camel.
Yeah.
So we'll round off with my final question. Ouch. And then we'll move on. So I couldn't think of a funny question, so I'm just going to go with what got you into music personally?
Oh, quite an easy one, to be honest. And quick answer would be my dad. He's listened to metal and rock ever since I can remember, and like it was always blasting as I was a kid and growing up. He got me into the bands like your Metallicas, your Megadeths, Machine Head, loads of others that I can't really think of at the top of my head, like all the grunge scene as well, or the thrash scene. So really, it was a no-brainer for me to grow up really liking music because it was always through the household, to be honest. And then he also played drums as well when he was younger, and I got to whip around the kit a little bit while I was younger. And unfortunately, he sold the kit because we needed some money, but it kind of led me to where I am today more than anything. And then I just started finding my own path, obviously with the internet being a massive thing, and LimeWire, trying to avoid them viruses and actually trying to find a decent copy of Linkin Park's Numb was always a challenge.
You got something else that were numb though.
Brilliant.
But yeah, LimeWire was disgusting for viruses.
That's it, yeah. It's like Linkin Park /real /MP3, and then it's got .exe at the end of it, and you're like, you're not real, are you?
So
but then, yeah, that's how it sort of started, just through my family.
So, as in regards to your dad, then, did he teach you the drums, or did you learn yourself, or what? How did you come about learning?
I had a few lessons in my teens, probably 3 or 4 months worth of lessons, just to learn the basics more than anything. And then I kind of just went off on my own little journey with him, to be honest. I had a kit in my room. Annoyed the absolute shit out of my neighbours probably 3-4 hours a day. And yeah, just kind of looked up YouTube tutorials and that sort of stuff.
Fair player. So, who would you say is the better drummer, you or your dad?
Yeah, it's probably me nowadays. Dad hasn't played in years, to be honest. But his sense of timing's impeccable. When I was first starting out, he'd be able to tell me where I need to work on and that sort of stuff. So it was like having a little mentor anyway, even though he didn't play that much anymore.
Yeah, great. Yeah, like it's always nice to have someone there that you can just like go to for advice, even though he doesn't play anymore. You can still go with a question, and you know that you can trust the answer that you're getting.
Yeah, it saves you trailing through forums 24/7 trying to find a specific answer when you can just go down and be like, Dad, I've broke the cymbal. Can we do anything about that? And then being like, not really, but at least I got my answer quick instead of all this bullshit that comes along with the internet.
It's like buy some duct tape or Gorilla Glue. You'll be fine. It won't sound any different.
That's it. And then it really does sound very different.
I think one of the most, when I looked up how to repair cymbals, one of the most complicated one was buy a soldering iron and solder it, which is not going to do fucking anything.
No, so as soon as you hit it just collapses again.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah,
it's just going to crumble. I mean, there's a YouTube tutorial, I'm sure, years ago of how to solder a cymbal, and you're just like, I mean, it's proper keyhole, and you're just like, that's gone. That is gone.
Wow.
And the guy
nowadays you can just cut out the crack. All of my cymbals are actually repairs at the moment, where you literally take a specific angle and angle out the chunk where the crack is, and it doesn't sound any different.
That's fair.
Not fair. I didn't know about that.
No.
Yeah. There's a bloke called what's his name? I've forgotten it, but he runs this company called Cymbal Magic. So if any drummers out there have got some cracked cymbals that are super expensive, get yourself over to Cymbal Magic, and yeah, he's a top gent. He repairs all of my cymbals, and I often buy repaired cymbals off of him as well.
Oh, awesome.
Nice. We'll throw him a wee shout out in the description as well.
Solid.
So, moving on. Throw you under bus a little bit more. Favourite gigs of all time. We'll give you a little bit of time to think, so we'll go straight to Cameron.
Nice.
Oh, thanks for that, Gary.
Thrown under the bus by your own co-host.
I just leaned back there to enjoy there, but no, I would definitely say. I mean, it does depend. I mean, I've seen A Day to Remember like 6 or 7 times. I've seen Bullet for My Valentine, roughly the same. I'd say the most memorable would probably be...
Well, that's another question, you dick. Slow down.
He's getting ahead of himself. He's trying to do 2 in 1.
Oh, isn't it?
I didn't realise. Right, so what was it? My favourite gig?
Your favourite gig, yeah.
Oh, favourite. It would have to be... Oh, it would have to be one of the Day to Remember ones. I can't remember the year, but Jeremy jumped into his big hamster ball thing and ran around the crowd. It was at the... It was the O2 ABC. Literally, like he just got in this big inflatable ball and ran through into the crowd, still singing Homesick. And where I was positioned just at the right place at the right time, and I had my hand up, and he ran over my hand. You know, I'm like, it was just incredible. You know, I wished I videoed it, but I would have probably lost my phone or had it smashed. But
And I've never washed my hand again.
no, definitely not. Oh dear, COVID.
Well, speaking of never washing your hands again, that leads me on to my favourite ever gig.
Right, okay.
I've heard
It
the story.
was. Have you now? It was 2013. I went to go see Bring Me the Horizon on the Sempiternal tour at Manchester. There were me, two lads I used to go to school with, and one of them, his dad and little brother. So one of my mates, he broke his leg, so he couldn't go into the crowd. He stood on edge, and then other three were just not interested in going in. So I'm like, oh, fuck you guys, I'm off in on my own. See you later. So I buggered off anyway, and it was the first time I'd seen Bring Me the Horizon, and like they're my favourite band, so I was hyped for that reason. But I ended up crowd surfing, got all the way to the front, and at this point, Ollie were going across from at stage and stuff, so I ended up like touching hands with him and stuff, and I was like, yes, no hands washed anymore.
Solid.
But then I got crowd surfed over at Barry, so I went round to the back and ended up going into a mosh pit, and I turned round, and next thing I know is all I can describe this bloke as is a larger, stockier version of the Hulk.
Sure.
He just came stomping towards me, and I thought, oh, fuck. And next thing I know, like, I've got no t-shirt on, my chest's covered in blood, and it was fucking great.
Brilliant. Sorted.
And yeah, that was easily my favourite gig of all time.
That does sound like an absolute banger, in all fairness.
Every gig I've been injured, that's been my favourite. I mean, I did break a bone in my ankle. Funnily enough, I didn't remember in Edinburgh, and I was that drunk I didn't feel it until the next morning, and I literally collapsed a wardrobe in the hotel in Edinburgh, and just
Brilliant.
it just stood up, just couldn't stand on my foot, and just threw
Fell.
myself through the fucking wardrobe. Great fun.
I had it with Go on.
What was that? No, sorry.
No, I was just gonna spew off a bit. I'll let you finish.
All right. No, it was just the repair bill wasn't that good.
I can imagine.
Oh, it's great fun. I would do it again.
I went to go see Korn and Limp Bizkit about 5 years ago at Manchester, and I'd torn up in my knee week before. So my doctor like, so you just need to take it steady. I went, well, I've got a concert next week. I went, all right, are you seated? I went, no. He went, right, well, just stand out of the way, right at back, and you should be all right. I went, so what about mosh pits? He went, whatever you do not go into a mosh pit. I went, why? He went, 'cause it'll just make it worse. X, Y, and Z. So I was like, yeah, that's fine. So anyway, Madball came on stage. I thought, not listened to these before. I don't know who they are. Fair enough. Have a little bit of a jam. Limp Bizkit came on. So I thought, yeah, I'm starting to lose my shit a bit here. And then they played the cover of Faith. Well, as soon as they started playing that, I thought, fucking get in. I lost my shit. I went into the middle at mosh pit, and the next thing I heard was just a fucking popping back of my knee. I'm like, this ain't funny. Like, I was the one that were driving back from Manchester as well, so it was like a 45-minute drive, but then I had to drop everyone off.
Shit.
And I just thought, well, it's pop now, I might as well finish gig, Anna. And I came, and my knee was like 3 times the size. I was like, no.
Fucking hell.
Never again, but I probably would do.
I've been quite lucky. I've not had any injuries, touch wood. Not that I haven't been in any mosh pits or anything like that. I've just been super lucky with getting away with it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I've had your standard sort of, scrapes, cuts, bruising, that sort of stuff, but nothing as intense as that. Not at all.
I think I may touched on this in one of the last episodes. We've all done 3 now. I think it was the last episode.
Yeah.
Shut it. I think it was the last episode where we were talking about a wee bit of Thy Art Is Murder. And the last time I seen them was last January. It was the last, concert I'd ever been to. And a pit broke out.
Was that with the was that Parkway headlining, was it?
No, it was Thy Art's headline tour, but they came to Glasgow. They had who was it? They had Fit for an Autopsy. They were main support. And another band. I can't remember who they were, but I was, a wee bit wasn't drunk because I was driving, but I was just excited for that. And I remember Holy War just came on, and the place just erupted, and I'm standing at the side with a couple of my friends, and I was like, I need to go in the pit, and I literally ran in, and I didn't even reach the pit before I got fucking clotheslined. I was just completely flattened.
Oh, mate, that sucks.
Completely flattened. And I somehow managed to get back to my group, and my pal was like, "Where the fuck did you go?" And I was like, "I don't know." He's like, "Because I watched you, and the next minute you weren't there at all." I was like, "I mean, I get flung about 6 feet across the floor." Oh, great fun. And then it was me that had to drive home. So, I mean, I wasn't in any pain, but just the usual kind of small bumps and bruises. But it was, I would do it again. But it's not the most violent pit I've been in. That's another one.
So then, Tommy, your favourite gig?
Okay, so I've had plenty of time to think about this, and I kind of kicking myself that I didn't think of it before. One of my favorite bands. So I've got two favorite bands in the entire world, followed by all the runners up. So we've got Between the Buried and Me and Silosis, and Between the Buried and Me did like an evening with sort of thing. So it was like 3 hour set of pure, absolute proggy metal bangers, and oh man, just thinking about it, it's just like because I know the back catalogue so well, just like every single song was like, that's a banger. Oh, that's a banger. Oh, that's a really heavy banger. And it was just like constant, just barrage of absolute tunes. I just remember losing my shit, lost my voice completely. I don't really remember much of the gig, to be honest, just because, when you get into that sort of hyped zone of just like euphoria, it was a really intimate gig as well. It was a little venue up in London. I can't remember exactly. It might have been like a electric ballroom or something like that. Quite a small one. And yeah, literally just 3 hours of them just having at it was just sick.
Fair. I might have to listen to them then if they've got nice, heavy, dirty bangers.
Mate, yes, it's a really nice mix of like super heavy progressive stuff, and then because they write in concepts as well. Like all their songs follow a story, so you'll have a super super heavy track one track, and then the next one will be like this proper sort of like progressive jazzy sort of number, but still with like heavy guitars and that. It's a really interesting mix that they get.
I'll give them a listen.
Yeah, man, highly recommend.
So, moving on to our least favourite. Who wants to start?
Least favourite.
Oh, least.
I've got mine at the top of my head if you two want a bit of time to think.
I'm gonna I'll throw this one out. I used to like them, but since things came out about them last year, I just went right off them. Issues.
Fair.
I mean, they've got some cracking tunes, but since the stuff came out about Tyler, I was like, nah, I just can't listen to them.
Yeah,
anymore.
to be fair, that's understandable.
And it's something I just don't tolerate, and the fact that he's not only ruined his own career, he's ruined the name of the band, and just ruined the fans, and there's going to be some people that thought, oh, he's a saint, and turns out he's just as bad as everybody else, but they were one of my least liked bands, I just can't do them now.
No, that's fair enough. And end of the day, there's enough reason to not like them. I've not actually listened to it all come about, but I remember talking to you about it when it all spouted off.
Yeah, because it came out of nowhere. Because we thought that, all this stuff had finished and blown over, and then boom, that came out, and we're like, oh god, maybe it's not.
Yeah, and
yeah, probably not a good shout. Yeah.
Which I say I hadn't started listening because of that, and it's bad really because like it's taking it out then on the other band members.
Yeah.
Which this might get me like a little bit of shit, but I still listen to Lost Prophets. Because end of the day they wrote some bangers, and the rest of the band had nothing to do with all the disgusting shit that Ian Watkins did. So why should the rest of the band be punished for it?
Yeah, I kind of get where you're coming from. It's not the band's fault at all, is it? It's him being an absolute dickhead. Like,
yeah.
I still can't bring myself to listen to it. If they release like an instrumental in which I can just sing along instead of having to hear his voice, then I'd be all over it. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just hearing his voice, man, just after everything that's happened is just like, ugh. It's just shit, innit?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the best, but you know, not to give anybody any PTSD or trigger warnings. it's just not for me.
No.
Yeah, yeah.
And if it is for anyone, then just go join in, please.
Yeah,
Yeah.
can you stop listening to this podcast, please? Like, I don't want
Yeah.
to be affiliated with you. I'm sure the boys don't want to be affiliated with you.
No.
It's
Exactly.
got dark, guys.
It has.
Yeah,
So,
it
to lighten the mood back up, my fucking least favourite gig in the entire world, Cameron, you were actually there. It was fucking Evil Scarecrow.
Yep.
Like, Jesus Christ. Like, the only reason we went, obviously, was for Shib's birthday, but
I'm going to put the photo of that in this because you are wasted.
Great.
what?
You were gone.
Oh, I can't remember.
Prove my point.
I was probably drinking away my fucking hearing. Like, all I could remember is some people dressed up as fucking robots and a big box and a crab and shit dancing about on stage, and then everyone running about in the crowd fucking doing claw hands. I'm like, am I at a concert or a 5-year-old's fucking Simon Says disco party? Like, what's going on? Like, end of the day, I know everyone's got different music tastes and everyone appreciates different things, but I was just stood there thinking, what the fuck am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
I think I remember you just shoveling any form of drink down your neck and hoping for the best. And
yeah, there's two ways to take that scenario, isn't there? Just absolute hilarity, literally just laugh your way through it, or it's just like absolute cringeworthy, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I had a good time. You know, it's for my cousin Siobhan's birthday, and it was a good laugh. But I can see why. I mean, they do get a lot of flack because it's not normal. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, the fact. I mean, I seen a video of because I looked them up. You know, when Siobhan was like, "Oh yeah, we're going to Evil Scarecrow," and I was like, "What?" I thought it was like an event, not a band, and I'm like, "Oh Christ." And they got everybody in the festival to do the crabulon thing where it's like 3 steps left, 3 steps right. You know, it's just a shitty Macarena.
Do the slide.
You know?
But yeah, that's definitely my least favourite gig I've ever been to.
I can't again. I'm quite lucky in saying that I've not been to see a band that I haven't necessarily enjoyed. I suppose for different reasons, my least favorite gig was a Trivium show, maybe like 2 years ago, and that was nothing to do with the bands or anything like that. Like from what I could tell, the bands were on point, but whoever the sound bloke was didn't have a fucking clue. Couldn't hear anything.
I've seen so many people saying that about the Trivium shows because I don't think they've got an allocated sound guy that tours with them. I think they just go with venue. But
yeah,
I mean, I've seen them. I've seen them at Download, and don't get me wrong, where we were sitting at Download, we were quite far back, but you could hear them, and they were spot on. But I've seen videos online, and it's either there's no bass or there's too much bass, and you know, there's not a solid ground with their audio live.
yeah. It was literally there was no clarity to begin with, which kind of annoying, especially with like a band like Trivium that do sort of integrate guitar pieces, and Alex the drummer's all over it 90% of the time. Like you want to be able to hear what's going on, but not only was there no clarity, but there was no like oomph behind it either. Normally when you're in a gig, you can feel the bass drum just like digging into your chest.
Just
None
felt
of
really
that.
flat.
Yeah. It was like someone had taken the sound, rendered it as an MP3, and chucked it on the speakers.
Jesus.
Yeah, and again, it's nothing against the boys whatsoever in Trivium. No, it's just
it just goes to show how much like a sound engineer can completely ruin a gig.
Yeah, literally. Like,
Which is why, as well, like small bands and people that go into venues never piss off your sound engineer. Just put it out there.
God no, yeah, God no. One tip that I can give anyone from myself playing shows for over the years is like the sound engineer knows what sounds best in his venue 90% of the time.
Yeah.
Like what you're hearing on stage is often not what's being heard out front. So like give them a break. If you want to hear your sound, get your vocalist to get out the front to begin with and do the sound check with the vocalist out the front. And that way you can get a better gauge of what the sound is going to be like.
Yeah, it's a solid plan.
Because, you know, you're not often monitored up properly in a local show, especially when there's limited room. There's not always room for monitors. So
No.
you may think that you can't hear yourself, but out the front, like, you could be absolutely killing it out the front.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Don't piss off your sound tech or engineer.
If there's one thing that we can take from this episode is camels are worth a lot and don't piss off your sound tech.
Don't need much else in life, really.
I think, to be honest, most problems would be solved at this point.
Yeah, and if you do piss off your sound tech, offer
him a camel.
Oh, God.
Can you turn my snare up, please? I'll give you this camel.
I'll send it over to you via camel.
Yeah. So, most memorable gig?
Oh, you're doing me dirty. I mean, I already partly answered it, but we didn't get any bands out.
We didn't. We heard the small story and that was it.
Oh, well, most memorable for me has to be 2018 when I went to see King 810 at King Tut's. Honest to God, I know King aren't for everybody. Personally, they're one of my favourite bands. But honest to fuck, I left that gig a broken man. I was battered, I was bruised, I had blood all over me. Oh, it was amazing. I just loved it. It was a fucking incredible gig.
Nice, man. That sounds good.
Definitely do need to go see him.
And the fact that I was at Barrier for all of that, you know, it definitely has a point. I mean, the full place just erupted. And King Tut's isn't the biggest venue, but it's one of the most famous in Glasgow. And honest to God, these guys just, I mean, at the time, their guitarist wasn't touring with them, so it was only drummer, the vocalist, and the bassist. And I mean, for the size of the stage, it's not that big, but they pretty much made it look a lot smaller than it was because they used the full thing. But for such a small venue and the amount of people there, it was just, it was insane.
No, I definitely need to go see him. Like, they are touring at end of year, aren't they? Well, if they can.
Yeah.
They are. I just need to try and... Well, I say I need to try. I can't get it off work as holiday, but then again, I might get a bad back. Never know.
Yeah, you never know. Sometimes it works out well.
Yeah.
Other times you're flushing your manager's phone down the loo.
Oh, Jesus Christ, man.
I'll turn up and video it for you.
Perfect. Get a waterproof phone as well, and then you can just see like the sewer system.
Good point. But saying that, as an ex-plumber, I really won't recommend it.
No, you get a shit signal.
Hey!
That was quick. I like it. It was good. Memorable. To be fair, it was probably so I went to TechFest a couple of years ago. TechFest is fucking sick for anyone that hasn't been. Saying is TechFest is best fest, so I'd get on that. But the last band on the last day was a band called Leprous. I don't know whether you guys have heard about them.
No.
They're less of a metal band, more of just like a prog rock outfit. But TechFest is basically technical death metal, genty stuff 100% of the time, which is great. Absolutely love that stuff. But as you can imagine, like a full weekend of it, after a few drinks and being hungover for a couple of days, you're looking for something a little bit mellow, looking for something a little bit less right up in your face, right? And that's where Leprous came in for me. Perfect. They headlined the Sunday, and I have not seen a tighter band in my entire life.
What
Like,
the hell?
absolutely insane. Whoever was their sound guy syncs all their sound up perfectly to match everything that the drummer was doing. And the drummer is not a simple drummer at all. He like just so much intricate stuff going on, and it was a journey, man. It was less of a like a moshy type gig, but me and my mates that were there, they'd never really heard of Leprous before. I'd listened to them for I think maybe like 2 or 3 months just to check them out, and we were all just stood there, just like mouths open, just like in absolute awe of these guys. It was incredible.
That sounds good.
Like you said, sometimes at the end of a festival, all you want is something a bit more chilled out.
Yeah, 100%. Like we'd obviously been drinking heavily for 3 days at that point. I'd actually had to tactical puke in the morning to be able to carry on. So I wasn't in the best space by the time we got round to that last night. And then Lepers come on, and yeah, it was just great. I absolutely smashed it out of the park, and we all went to bed happy chappies that night. Not to mention, actually, the night before, part 2 of the story, there was an after party which involved a Toto cover band, but in the sort of genty style, which was sick.
Well, to be fair, it can't be any worse than Toto, so...
Mate, the Toto cover band, like, honestly, 3,000 people singing Africa whilst they're, like, tuned down to, like, drop F. It was mental.
Jesus.
That's
Yeah.
bad.
So, my most memorable gig, like, if it was anything, it had been my first ever download festival, but I'm not classing that. And I'm torn between two. It was either the first time I ever saw Korn, or when I got VIP tickets for Little Mix.
Okay.
And to be fair, it's a hard one to call. I'm gonna go with Little Mix, I think. Just like, apart from the fact that Little Mix absolutely slap, it's a nice visual. But because of the whole podcast, I'll go down my Korn show route. Like,
I was going to say, I was not judging you, but quietly judging you, if that makes sense.
I get judged all the time, don't worry. But yeah, like the first time I ever saw Korn, it was the whole, just that feeling when you're waiting for him to come on, and then when they actually performed, they went, and the whole set was you'd have thought it were molded around my favorite songs.
Oh man, that's always great. Like when you're
And
calling next tracks as well.
Yeah, and it was like, if I had to like write the set list, there were probably only 2 songs that I'd have swapped around order. The rest of it was just in perfect order for me. So it was
Nice.
like, at the end of the show, I was just like, I'm absolutely bollocksed. But like at the end of the show, we were all looking for each other because we all got split up in crowd. And I bumped into one of the lads, and there was someone walking around with a couple of wristbands in his hand, and he came up to me and my mate, and he was like, "Oh, do you want a couple of wristbands?" We're like, "What the fuck?" He went, "Oh, it's so you can have a close chat. There's only about 15 people, but you can have a close conversation and a talk with Brian, and then he's going to give out some merch." So we're like, "Yeah, fuck it, we'll go. We'll do it." And then, as other mates, they text us like, "Oh, we're out at car." We're like, "Oh yeah, we're just waiting for Brian." And it was like, we were sat there in crowd, and we were like this little group. Paul Arena had emptied, and we sat there and we looked at each other and went, "We've been 20 minutes, no one's turned up." And like, who the fuck is Brian? So we're like, fuck this. We're like, we don't know who the fuck Brian is. We'll go piss off. So we fucked off, and then we got in car, and my mate just, like, we got down the road, and my mate shouted, he went, "Stop!" I went, "What?" He went, "It's fucking Brian Welch." And obviously, if you don't know Korn, it's like, he's known as Head. And as soon as that, I'm like, we've really fucking passed up a close contact meeting with fucking Head because we didn't know his name was Brian.
Brilliant. That's so good.
And we noticed on Facebook that he give out like fucking a couple of his guitar picks, like he give out a couple of drum heads and all sorts of signed stuff, and it was just like, we did that to get home early because we were like, who the fuck's Brian?
Mate, lesson learned there.
Yeah. So that was definitely the most memorable time seeing them. It was great.
Sounds like a sick show regardless. Like, it's a shame that it ended in a missed opportunity.
Oh, definitely. So now we've got to do that. That's pretty much everything. As I say, it's been great having you on, and I think from what you've been saying about you guys as a band and how you are, I think further down the line we need to get you all on. So we'll have like you, Lyndon, Ian, Andy, and the two camels. We'll get
Perfect.
you all. We'll have an interview and like have a proper in-depth conversation with you all.
Yeah, man, that sounds great.
So that'll bring us to an end of episode 3. All links to the bands and everything mentioned will be in the bottom in the description, so check them out and give us a like and a subscribe.
Yeah, so once again, thanks for coming on. It's been a good laugh, and the time has passed rather quickly.
Yeah, no, cheers for having, guys. We've covered a lot from camels to what episode number we're on, all the way up to never washing hands ever again. So
Yeah, it's great.
It's been a productive episode. I think we've all learned a lot today.
No problem.
Definitely.